So our next topic is data types. So we're going to learn about data types, what are the different data types are there and all. So data types are just the values and size that can be stored in the variable that is made as per convenience and circumstances to cover all the test cases. And we have defined all the data types in 4 types. First is basic, then derived, enumerations, user defined data type. So we'll see one by one what are these things. So basic data types are just this integer, character, float, double. So when we say integer, it means int. We define for integer, we define int as the data type. It means it is going to store, that variable is going to store integer value. When we say char, it means character. So it is going to store character value in that variable. That may be alphabets of an English words. It can be plus, those are the characters, right? Float is that data type which is going to store decimal values. Double is also that data type which is going to store decimal values but in bigger decimal numbers. So these are what basic data types are. Now we're going to talk about derived data types. So arrays and pointers are considered to be derived data types. We'll be talking about arrays and pointers in details in the further videos. Next data type is enumeration data type. So we define it by enum keyword. So enumerations are generally used when you expect the variable to select one value from the possible set of values. It increases the abstraction and enables you to focus more on values rather than worrying about how to store them. It is also helpful for code documentations and readability purpose. We'll see this thing later part of the video. User defined data type. So we'll be talking about classes a lot. So we say class as a user defined data type in C++. Basic data types are integer based and floating point values. We already talked about this. And it supports signed and unsigned literals. Literals means just values. What is mean by signed and unsigned? When we say signed, it means data type that indicates signed. That variable can store negative and positive value as well. When we say unsigned, then that simply means that data type is only going to hold positive values. Negative values aren't allowed to be stored in that data type. So suppose we'll be taking some integer signed int. It means it is going to store positive values and negative values both. When we say unsigned int, when we declare that in our compiler, that means it is going to store only positive values. Memory size of basic data types can be changed according to the 32 or 64 bit of operating system. It means sometimes you can see that data types have given some size to it. So int is for integer. Basically int means integer. So it can have 2 bytes of memory, can take 2 bytes of memory or 4 bytes of memory. It depends on the architecture of the machine, whether it's 32-bit or 64-bit. Float is the data type that is floating point. Similarly, double is for double floating point and it is taking 8 bytes of memory. Float taking 4 bytes of memory. Float is store smaller decimal numbers and double store bigger decimal numbers. Both work is to store decimal numbers only. Char is for storing characters. Wchar is called as the void character. Bool is for boolean, whether it is true or false. Void is empty, so it doesn't store anything. So we give 0 byte. 0 byte is taken in the memory. Similarly, bool take 1 byte, char take 1 byte. So this all the size of the data type depends on the architecture of the machine and operating system, whether it is 32-bit or 64-bit of memory.